You know, sometimes in like April, you sign up for a couple of summer courses and you're like, that's a good idea. I'll definitely do that. And then the first course comes up and you're having trouble getting out of bed because it's the summer and you don't want to do anything. And you're like, I don't think I want to go to this. That's what's happening with us right now in summer school. 0 for 1. We called and got nothing back on the other side. In fact, straight to voicemail.
It didn't even ring. It just went right to voicemail.
Maybe there's breaking news in El Paso that we need to be aware of that'll be coming out soon.
Good point.
I don't know. But we'll see if we get a call back from Brett. If not, we might have to just either try again later, make rain check on this one, or just skip UTEP altogether. Oh, phone's ringing. Here we go. All right. I assume that's our guy here. So summer school begins today. Nebraska's season starts on August 31st, and it'll be against the UTEP Miners. Now, some people will say, well, yeah, that's nice, and the season starts that day. But Colorado is coming up the week after that, and that's a night game. It'll be a very anticipated game. It'll be a big game in the landscape of college football that weekend. It's big. It's big NBC. Nebraska's got to win that one to try and get off to 7-0. But many people will respond to us and they'll say, Happer, no, it's not about any of the other games. It's not about these big games. One game at a time. And you got to start with the first one. That's UTEP. And that's where we welcome in Brett Bloomquist of the El Paso Times. He joins us now on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline to get a quick look at the Miners. Brett, thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate it. How are you?
All right. Good to be here. It's real hot out here, but usually is.
I imagine so. It's actually cooled down here. I love it all over the country when, we have the College World Series up here and people come up from Texas and they're like, it's not that hot up here. And we're all complaining about how hot it is. So I do not envy your guys' situation down there.
We're pretty much in the 100 degrees every day.
Not great. All right. Things will cool down as we get ready to go for the season here. So UTEP, they got a new football coach this offseason. Scotty Walden, 34 years old. He's the second youngest coach in the FBS. He's been at Austin P for the last 4 years. Tell us a little bit about him, how UTEP kind of came across him and what he's been like to be around and what his program's been like for the first few months on the job here.
Well, everybody kind of got their introduction to him. UTEP was playing in a postseason volleyball tournament and sold it out. And that's kind of where they introduced him. And he immediately dropped the microphone and started running around, whipping up the crowd into a frenzy, jumping up and down. He, a few weeks later, showed up at a basketball game wearing body paint. So there's a 34-year-old guy behind the basket with the students in body paint. It was hard to tell apart from the students. So he certainly brought in a lot of energy. It's sort of the typical, when you make a change, often you kind of go the opposite direction. And, the previous coach, Dana Demmel, would not be one to take his shirt off and paint his chest and jump around like that. So it's been a sea change. He's brought a lot of energy in. And, I know from my perspective, it sort of woke me up when I saw how good their recruiting class was, probably their best recruiting class in school history since they started rating these things in the internet era. And, the team's completely turned over, but it looks like who he's got left is really buying into things. And yeah, there's a new energy. The staff's a lot younger, and Walden is a lot more energetic than I think people are used to seeing really from any kind of a coach.
Well, I was going to say, what's the football situation look like? Let's start with the roster. I mean, obviously you're going to have a bunch of turnover when you have a change in a head coach anyway. Might lose some guys at UTEP to some bigger schools, might decide they want to go elsewhere. What does it look like to you? Maybe hard to tell before they played a game, but it's sort of a mystery we're all finding out together, I suppose. But as far as what they lost and what they gained, what do you see in that roster?
Well, the roster, I mean, it was a completely turning over before Walden was even hired. When the previous coach was let go, a lot of people enter the transfer portal. And in fact, two of the guys that entered then asked to come out after Walden got hired. He took them back in. And then, but then after spring, there was a bunch more turnover, as some of the holdovers were let go kind of after the spring. So it's going to be completely new, particularly on offense. They do have a little continuity on defense, including their best player back. The offense, they're looking at complete turnover. They brought in 11 transfers from Austin P, part of a pretty big transfer class. And then, that great recruiting class, but that's all freshmen. I don't know how much those guys are going to contribute right away. But, particularly on offense, they lost their top 3 rushers, their top 4 receivers, and their top 6 offensive linemen. So that's turning over. Defense, a little more continuity. They lose most of their starters, but they do bring back some second teamers who look like first teamers now, and then mix in a bunch of players from Austin P. So look completely different on offense and a little different on defense.
You know anything about style and how they kind of plan to sort through what they're going to actually look like on the football field in year one here?
Offensively, they're going to go a lot faster. They've been really for quite a while now. The previous 2 coaches have been all about ball control, huddling up, grinding the clock. Walden wants to snap the ball, I think, every 12 seconds. So it's gonna look a whole lot different, on offense. Defense looks like they're going with a 3-3-5, although their star defensive end last year. This year they're calling a bandit, which I gather is sort of a lineman linebacker hybrid. So yeah, the scheme's going to be different. It'll look a lot like what Austin P was doing last year. Almost the whole defensive staff came over from Austin P. The offensive staff changed up a little, although they still have plenty of people coming over there. I think he brought 9 coaches with him. So it's going to look a lot like what P was doing last year, which is going to be really fast on offense and a 3-3-5 on defense.
What's the challenge of going to Nebraska for that first game? Like you said, they're trying to figure some stuff out. It's a young coach. Obviously, they'll bring some energy. That part of it, I think, Nebraska fans will hear that around here and they'll say, "No, that kind of scares me a little bit." Young, energetic coach. He's going to have the team ready in their first game. I guess what's the challenge of looking at the schedule right away and making the trip to Lincoln?
Yeah, you just look at it. The last 2 times they had coaching changes. One year they won 2 games in the first year under Sean Kugler, and then they won 1 game under the first year under Dana Dimmel. I don't see why that would be radically different here. Just in terms of all they lose compared to what they bring back. Most of the new people that they brought in are going to be guys who were very successful last year at Austin P. For a good FCS team, and I think that can translate well to Conference USA. I don't know how much that translates to Nebraska. You look at UTEP's history when they go and play those power conference team, kind of the money games. They've had a couple where they've been competitive. They've never actually won one of these. And just being competitive would be, that would be big for them. Although, just kind of looking at it, I do think this is going to be rebuilding. I think the excitement needs to be tempered by, when you look at this recruiting class, that spells well for the future, but it could be a year or 2. I don't know how good they're going to be in the very first game of the year in a setting like that.
How good's the league? How good's Conference USA?
It's so completely turned over, and now, starting to add teams again. 2 years ago, they just lost 6 teams to the American Athletic and 3 to the Sun Belt. It's rebuilding. Obviously Liberty's very, very good. They're playing with, more money and more advantages than other people have. After that, I think there's a feeling UTEP, maybe not this year, I think it can compete to finish if things go well, middle of the conference. But I think in a couple of years, there's no one here that you look at as a real traditional power other than Liberty. Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky are back. But I think a lot of these schools are FCS schools moving up to the FBS. It's probably going to take them a couple of years. Jacksonville State was actually pretty good last year, but yeah, it's a conference in transition, and I think it's going to take a few years to develop an identity.
Well, I was going to say, what do you think, if we're looking ahead and Walden has some success 2 or 3 years down the line, can UTEP be a place where, they are sitting at the top of that conference and they can be one of those teams, if you look ahead and try and predict this thing out a year or 2?
Well, certainly. I mean, as much as UTEP struggles, and they've struggled in their whole history, they haven't struggled as much as New Mexico State, which played in the conference championship game last year, and I think had a 9-win season. They went to Auburn the week before Auburn should have beaten Alabama, and they beat Auburn by 3 touchdowns. And New Mexico State's always struggled more than UTEP. So if they can do it, yeah, I think there's, that also kind of puts an onus on UTEP when the school 35 miles down the road they usually beats doing that. But I think that kind of lays a blueprint that, yeah, this is a manageable conference. Liberty's going to be tough, but other than that, yeah, I think UTEP certainly feels like they can compete sooner rather than later.
Excellent, Brett. We appreciate the update. I assume we'll talk again. Like, are you planning on making the trip to Lincoln here in a month and a half?
Oh yeah. We won't miss the Walden opener, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Excellent. Oh, we'll plan on maybe catching up again that week before we get ready to go. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
All right, take care, everybody.
That is Brett Bloomquist of the El Paso Times. Wow. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but they're gonna suck. Aren't they? I mean, come on.
He covers the team, and his belief seems to be gonna be a rough transition. Which, okay. How are we feeling, Husker fans?
Yeah, like, geez. I don't think he was overly negative or anything, but it's just like, here's the deal. You have a first year and a first time FBS head coach, in Scotty Walden, who might end up being good, might not, whatever. Either way, he's bringing energy into the program. So, like, let's just say if they're on a trajectory where it's going well this year, let's say it goes well for them, and by the end of the season, they are better than they were at the beginning. Nebraska's got the first game, Yep. It's just not going to be that. It's not going to be that type of team.
Well, 28 points. Was that right?
I believe we're sitting at 27.5 right now, or 28.5. Yeah.
I feel a lot better about it than I did 10 minutes ago.
I beat him 41-13 on my first game at college football, 25, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was right on the number.
Okay.
It was amazing. So they go to Nebraska this year, and then in November, they pick up a Garbo SEC game.
Oh, they're a Garbo SEC team? They're the Citadel?
They are.
For somebody?
And
they're somebody's Citadel.
They are somebody's Citadel. It gotta be somebody's Citadel. They are Tennessee's Citadel this year.
They play Kennesaw State, who is the worst team on the video game.
Yes. People are starting to rebuild them.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, though, in a conference that has that much turnover and has new teams seemingly every year, and loses all of their best players to X conference every single year. Like, what do you even make of that? I don't even know what you do with that information. If you asked me before I looked anything into UTEP, if you asked me, can you name 3 members of Conference USA? I'm not sure I could do it.
No, I don't think so.
I probably would have gotten Western Kentucky. I probably would have gotten Florida International. I may have gotten Liberty.
I don't think I would have gotten Liberty, to be completely honest.
So here are the teams. Here are the full members of Conference USA.
For football.
FIU, Jax State, led by Logan Smothers.
Not in Florida.
And Rich Rod. No, Jacksonville, Alabama. Kennesaw State, Liberty, La Tech, who Nebraska played last year, Mid-Tennessee, New Mexico State, who UTEP hates, as he just mentioned. That's a rivalry. Like, nobody cares about that game, but they care about that a lot. Sam Houston, who I can't keep track of what Sam Houston's doing. Sam Houston, are they FCS? Are they FBS?
Are they coming up? Are they good? Are they bad?
Are they in the WAC? I have no idea. They're in this conference apparently this year. UTEP and Western Kentucky. That's nuts.
I'm looking at their schedule. I have the ability to watch every UTEP football game this year.
Why? Because they're on Facebook?
No. Big Fox with Nebraska. True TV against Colorado State. Got a game on ESPNU against Western Kentucky. A lot of games on CBS Sports Network. Some ESPN Plus in there.
Okay. All right. College football on your TV. I mean, basically everything that's not on linear television is on ESPN Plus these days anyway. So that does indeed help. Yeah. So let's just do one more thing before we wrap up the UTEP talk.
Win total?
Indeed. So I'll have
2.5, 3.5.
Hold on. I can't imagine it's much more than that. Conference USA UTEP. Here they are. What did you say?
I said 2.5 or 3.5.
It's 4.5.
Ooh.
But the juice is on the under.
Okay.
So
the man we talked to seemed to think that they would not get to 4
under. I'm sure we'll talk about this in late August again as well, but can you name me one singular UTEP football alumni? I don't think that
Kai Loxley.
I don't. Kai Loxley?
Yeah.
Is that Michael Loxley's kid? Or
yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, is he an Iowa Western guy?
Yeah. Went to UTEP. Technically cheating, but I knew that.
Do they have any NFL?
CFL.
Like, when's their last NFL guy? Their last NFL draftee.
Everybody's got one.
Everybody's got one, right?
Yeah.
Quentin Demps was drafted in 2008. Jeez. Hold on. We're still. I'm still looking here. They had 2 draftees this year. They had 2 draftees this year.
This year,
yes. Tyrese Knight, Elijah Klein.
Okay.
They had a draftee in 2018, and they had a draftee in 2017, and before that, it was 2008. And Quentin Demps was a part of that class. UTEP was home to a Palmer.
Carson Palmer?
Jordan Palmer. Other Palmer. There's not one name that I recognize on this list. Usually there's one, right? Everybody's got one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, not much going on there. Yikes. Yeah, Tank. Oh, nice one, Tank. Tank knew Jordan Palmer. I don't remember the Jordan Palmer era at UTEP. Tank also says, I've been to a couple of UTEP New Mexico State games. Lots of hate. Brutal watch. Maybe that's our Sickos game of the year this year. Just some real old-fashioned hate for the sake of hate. I love it.
I do like that.
I don't know how good New Mexico State's going to be either, but UTEP will be coming off a bludgeoning of Tennessee or by Tennessee. And yeah. All right. So keep that one in mind too. All right. Quick timeout. We'll come back. Still a couple more things left to get to here in the Connor Hamper Show on 1620 The Zone, but a reminder to sign up for the VIP Club, 1620 The Email. We will open up the red velvet tape for you. We'll take it off and we'll welcome you into our VIP area. You can find all of the stuff that we're up to, but you got to sign up for the email list first. Sign up today, 1620thezone.com.